J.D. Salinger's controversial new novel, The Catcher in the Rye, continues to shock and captivate post-war America.
He wanted to save innocence. Instead, he created a book that corrupted it, or at least commercialized it. 2 years after The Catcher in the Rye exploded onto bestseller lists in 1951, J.D. Salinger fled to Cornish, New Hampshire, stopped answering letters, stopped giving interviews. As he's meant to have once told a friend, Salinger just wanted to be left alone. But the world didn't listen. Teenagers carried Catcher like a manifesto. Teachers banned it. Parents blamed it. And Salinger, who wrote about a boy trying to protect innocence, watched his own vanish under headlines and hysteria. That's where our story begins. Because in one paragraph, Salinger told us exactly what he was trying to protect, and why he'd spend the rest of his life hiding from it. In this chapter of Pursuing Perfect Prose, we're analysing the most famous paragraph from The Catcher in the Rye, Holden Caulfield's dream of being the catcher in the rye. Our purpose? To answer that big question, is this perfect prose? Alright, the full paragraph. Anyway, I keep picturing all these little kids playing some game in this big field of rye and all. Thousands of little kids. And nobody's around. Nobody big, I mean. Except me. And I'm standing on the edge of some crazy cliff. What I have to do, I have to catch everybody if they start to go over the cliff. I mean, if they're running and they don't look where they're going, I have to come out from somewhere and catch them. That's all I do all day. I'd just be the catcher in the rye and all. Before we dissect this, it's important we first rewind, not to Holden, but to the man behind him, J.D. Salinger. The setup, the man who wanted to disappear. Born in 1919 Manhattan, Salinger was the son of a prosperous cheese importer and a mother of German-Irish, Scottish-Irish descent, who, upon marrying, changed her name and adopted a Jewish identity, reportedly under family pressure. Privileged, yes, but young Jerome David was restless. He attended multiple schools and didn't settle easily, eventually joining the army, at which time came the war. In 1944, Salinger landed at Normandy with 6 chapters of Catcher in his knapsack. He fought through D-Day, the Bulge, and the liberation of a concentration camp. When the war ended, he was broken, hospitalized for what we now call PTSD. Reportedly, he told friends later, "You can't see what I've seen and be the same man." Out of that came Holden Caulfield, a voice he'd been drafting since before the war, but only finished after it. It makes sense, because how do you return from a world of horror to a world obsessed with phoniness and cocktail parties? You write a teenager, a boy forever refusing to grow up in a world that demanded he do exactly that. Holden's world is loud, false, and fast. And so it is that tucked inside this chaotic, heartbreaking novel, we find this video's chosen paragraph, one that captures it all. Time to explore it. The breakdown. The boy, the field. Anyway, I keep picturing all these little kids playing some game in this big field of rye and all. There's a rhythm to that sentence that feels careless. That throwaway anyway is classic Holden. It's a verbal shrug, but it's also a defense mechanism, a shield. Holden speaks like someone ducking sincerity, afraid that saying something earnest might make him break. Salinger, too, had that instinct. After the war, he couldn't stand pretension, couldn't stomach phoniness, that word again. And so he hid behind irony. Even his dialogue hides pain in humor. So we know that every anyway and every and all hides sincerity, but is not careless. In fact, Salinger edited this voice for nearly a decade. Reportedly, he once told his agent he couldn't publish until the voice sounded completely natural. Natural meaning unguarded, but meticulously designed. The big field of rye represents childhood, innocence. It's sprawling, wild, and ungoverned, the place before corruption begins. It's also borrowed from Robert Burns's poem, Comin' Through the Rye. Except the thing is, Holden gets it wrong. In the poem, it's about romantic meaning, adults, not kids. But he mishears it as a song about saving children. That misunderstanding is the heart of the book. Innocence, clinging to innocence through misinterpretation. Salinger loved that kind of irony, purity born of confusion. Accounts say he told a friend that children, unlike adults, say things that mean more than they know. The next line, thousands of little kids, and nobody's around. Nobody big, I mean, except me. Here, Holden reveals the fantasy. He wants to be the only adult in the world of children, the lone protector. This is the loneliness of both character and creator. It was in the early 1950s that Salinger began retreating from public life. He wrote letters to friends saying he was through with society. Like Holden, he wanted to be the only big person in a world of small ones. Except in reality, there were no children to save, only readers he couldn't control. Next, Holden says, "And I'm standing on the edge of some crazy cliff." That word crazy might be casual on the tongue, but it's weighted in the psyche. It foreshadows what's coming. Holden is describing the brink between childhood and adulthood, sanity and breakdown. The cliff is both metaphor and diagnosis. Salinger, by this point, knew something about that edge. After returning from Europe, he's reported to have said that he couldn't bear small talk, that everyone was asleep but him. That sense of moral insomnia fuels this entire paragraph. The cliff isn't just a metaphor, it's a memory. And in this way, he's not preaching, he's confessing. What I have to do, I have to catch everybody if they start to go over the cliff. This line is the heart of the fantasy. It's repetitive, almost childlike. What I have to do, I have to. That's not poor grammar. It's rhythm. It mimics obsession, like a mantra. And it's profoundly revealing. Holden doesn't want to change the world. He wants to stop it from changing. Again, like Salinger, who tried to stop time, sealing himself away so art could stay innocent. From a rare 1974 New York Times phone exchange, Salinger said, "There is a marvelous peace in not publishing. I like to write. I love to write. But I write just for myself and my own pleasure." He wanted to freeze purity in time, his own, his characters, perhaps his readers. I mean, if they're running and they don't look where they're going, I have to come out from somewhere and catch them. This line captures Salinger's prose genius. It's syntactically messy, but emotionally perfect. Notice how it doubles back? I mean, I have to. It sounds rambling, but it's teenage speech rendered with orchestral precision. I say orchestral because Salinger is to have said to his editor that writing Holden was like playing a violin without strings. All sound, no instrument. This is that sound. Which brings us to the final piece of music. That's all I do all day. I'd just be the catcher in the rye and all. There it is. The novel's title, its heart, its wound. The dream distilled into one shy, beautiful sentence. Holden says, that's all I do all day. Not, I want to save the world. Not, I want to make things right. Just keep them from falling. It's so small, so humble. The understatement is the heartbreak, and it becomes enormous. He's not trying to be heroic. He's trying to find meaning. And that really was Salinger's lifelong quest. He longed for that simplicity, to protect something unsullied, children, art, spirit, from the noise of the world. He lived until 2010, writing every day, publishing nothing, protecting whatever remained of his field of rye. People begged for more from him, and then asked if he'd gone mad. Maybe he'd just gone Holden. The reflection, the catcher, and the question of perfection. So, is this passage perfect prose? Technically, on paper, no. It breaks rules, is grammatically uneven, repetitive, and fragmentary. It shrugs with and all and I mean, but in music, in feeling, in truth, it's genius. Salinger built imperfection into art. The paragraph is the man, yearning, wounded, allergic to falseness, and it encapsulates everything the book and Salinger's life wrestled with. Innocence versus experience, connection versus retreat, and the impossible wish to stop time before it ruins us. Maybe that's why this paragraph still hits, why it still matters. Because we've all wanted to stand in that field and be the catcher, to hold back the people we love, or even ourselves, from falling. Alas, like Salinger, we can't stay in the field forever. We all have to grow up. Or so they keep telling me. Well, what do you think? Is this rambling teenage fantasy, this impossible wish to catch innocence before it falls, perfect prose? Or is it just a perfect illusion? Tell me in the comments what you see in the field. Perhaps perfection is impossible. The pursuit, however, that's where the fun is. Read on!